This is a brief lecture on Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay from the 19th century on art, and I think things by Emerson are a real treat. He's certainly one of my favorite authors, and a true contribution to world culture and his insight. Okay. Test questions. What two kinds of art are there of distinguished between their use and beauty? And here's the quote. Emerson says, because the soul is progressive, it never quite repeats itself, but in every act attempts the production of a new and fairer whole. This appears in works both of the useful and the fine arts, if we employ the popular distinction of works according to their aim, either at use or beauty. And so those are the two kinds of art, useful and fine. And I think I don't know, in some ways I guess it's an artificial distinction, but you could think of like what is a useful art? Well, maybe it would be like a mechanic who's really skilled, or a gardener who really, right, or a cook or a chef or something. Whereas the fine arts would be things like, I don't know, dance or painting or music or drama. Um, what is that abridgment and selection we observe in all spiritual activity? Emerson asserts this. He asks that question. He says, what is that abridgment and selection we observe in all spiritual activity, but itself the creative impulse? For it is the inlet of that higher illumination which teaches to convey a larger sense by simpler symbols. So this idea of, right, creativity and spirit coheres really nicely with Emerson's philosophy. His philosophy is called Transcendentalism. What is a man with regard to nature's success? Emerson asserts, what is a man but nature's finer success in self-explication, right? That the human is part of nature. That's the idea that, sometimes we want to distinguish human creations outside of nature. But what Emerson is asserting is that, human creations are part of nature. And in fact, nature's greatest success in self-explication, which means articulation or explanation. What does it mean to say nature's eclecticism? Well, it means nature's great variety of many talents. That's what eclectic means. Historically viewed, it has been the office of art to educate the perception of what? Emerson asserts, thus historically viewed, it has been the office of art to educate the perception of beauty. And that's pretty interesting, right? That the idea of the kind of development of the sensation of the beautiful. That's art. Um, of what are we students when we carve, paint, or behold what is carved and painted? And Emerson asserts this: we carve and paint, or we behold what is carved and painted, as students of the mystery of form. As students of the mystery of form. And this idea of mystery is fascinating because, the mysterious is that which we can't really grasp or understand. It's sort of beyond our ken. And, like the forms and what makes something beautiful or appealing, and what gravitates toward the senses, that's mysterious and maybe not to be understood. In what does the virtue of art lie? The virtue of art lies in detachment, in sequestering or separating one object from the embarrassing variety. Until one thing comes out from the connection of things, there can be enjoyment, contemplation, but no thought. Our happiness and unhappiness are unproductive. So the correct answer, in what does the virtue of art lie? It's detachment. It's in separation of like one thing, right? We put a frame around that one thing. What do love and the passions concentrate all existence around? And Emerson says this, he says, love and all the passions concentrate all existence around a single form. That's that kind of same theme again from the last slide. It's this idea of, one thing out of the embarrassing variety. That is the kind of focus or the concentration. What is the essence of rhetoric in the hands of the orator and the poet? So rhetoric is persuasion, and an orator is the speaker. So to say it differently, paraphrase, it's like, what is the essence of persuasion in the hands of the speaker and the poet? And Emerson says this. He says, the power to detach and to magnify by detaching is the essence of rhetoric in the hands of the orator and the poet. And so, again, this is the same thing. The theme of separation of a single form, and then kind of working on that single form to beautify it so it's appealing to the senses. With respect to the hour, what is each work of genius? Emerson says this. He says, therefore, each work of genius is the tyrant of the hour and concentrates attention on itself. For the time, it's the only thing worth naming. To do that, be it a sonnet, an opera, a landscape, a statue, an oration, the plan of a temple, of a campaign, or of a voyage of discovery. And so the idea is, that thing which is truly great at that time is what everybody wants to check out and enjoy. And so, like, we could think of, I don't know, like certain artists, like when, I don't know, I guess like the last one I can think of is like Bruno Mars, when he like comes out with 24 karat whatever. It's like, he's all over the airwaves, and just for a time, you can kind of sense that sometimes with like Taylor Swift. And so the idea is there's real magnetism to that genius, and everybody is sort of pulled toward it in that moment. Who is the best art critic? Emerson says, and the individual in whom simple tastes and susceptibility to all great human influences overpowers the accidents of a local and special culture is the best critic of art. And so this idea of it's like a learned person and a wise person, but with that, it's kind of simple, ordinary tastes that allow for a kind of wide range of perception, I guess. Who is conceived meanly of the resources of man? Emerson says, he is conceived meanly of the resources of man who believes that the best stage of production is past. And so I love this quote. What this quote means is that we have this tendency to revere and think like the art of the past is better, but Emerson is saying no way, that's not how it is. The art that we are going to create today and the art of tomorrow is going to rival that of the past. So he says this. He says he has conceived meanly, or unsatisfactorily, of the resources of man who believes that the best stage of production is past. And so again, it means that the past is the past, and it might have a great art, right? Emerson, I love Emerson. He wrote 140 years ago, but he's dead. He's not writing anymore. So what we need to do is kind of create our own art and create a future of artful beauty that will rival even the best of what's in the past. What is the highest effect of art? Emerson says, art should exhilarate and throw down the walls of circumstance on every side, awakening in the beholder the same sense of universal relation and power which the work evinced in the artist. And its highest effect is to make new artists. Right? Very beautiful. The highest effect of art is the creation of new artists. So, imagine that, somebody sees or hears something and they want to imitate it. And in that kind of imitation and emulation in that development, they too kind of inhale the creative winds and spirit. Life may be lyric or epic as well as a poem or a romance. And so this is this idea of Emerson that, you know, our life is artful, right? Art and life. I mean, art, it becomes a great metaphor for life. So life may be lyric or epic, right? Lyric means sort of playful, and epic means like long and enduring, like, the Odyssey or something like that, as well as a poem or a romance. What happens to the seeker when beauty is sought not from religion and love, but for pleasure? And things go bad. That's what happens, right? I mean, if you if you seek beauty not for the right reasons, but simply for pleasure, it's kind of satiating, and it creates a kind of gluttony. So here's what Emerson says. He says these solaces and compensations, right? These comforts and these payments, that's solaces and compensations. This division of beauty from use, the laws of nature do not permit. As soon as beauty is sought not from religion and love, but for pleasure, it degrades its seeker. After the degradation, what kind of beauty can thus be created? Right? And Emerson says this: high beauty is no longer attainable by him in canvas or in stone, in sound or in lyrical construction. An effeminate, right? Effeminate being weakly here, right? Effeminate, prudent, sickly beauty, which is not beauty, is all that can be formed. For the hand can never execute anything higher than the character can inspire. In nature, what is beautiful, useful? Why is nature beautiful? Why is nature useful? It's very simple, but it's elegant and wonderful. Emerson says, in nature, all is useful. All is beautiful. It is therefore beautiful because it is alive, moving, reproductive. It is therefore useful because it is symmetrical and fair. In what manner and to whom does beauty come? Emerson says, beauty will not come at the call of a legislature, nor will it repeat in England or America its history in Greece. It will come as always unannounced and spring up between the feet of brave and earnest men. And so, there's something, courage and beauty kind of go together. That's what he's saying. And you can't recreate it. It's just, England and America, they can't recreate what was going on in Greece.